RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about two things, important things, news as it were. Let's start with what affects college football. The NCAA's Division I Council has finally approved the immediate transfer and eligibility of all players across all sports. This is a game changer, and this is massive. Coming just 2.5 years after the NCAA instituted the transfer portal, for which we've seen men's basketball and FBS players take full advantage of since its inception. And it was the first step in getting us to here, which means that players will be able to transfer without penalty, be immediately eligible, whether they have graduated or not, at least once. This news first reported by Nicole Auerbach at The Athletic, and I gotta tell you, I'm a huge fan of this. I wanted to see the players get more agency, and many of you know this. I think this is going to help the sport. I also think it's going to keep coaches accountable. I hear many of you say things like, yo, does a commitment matter anymore? Does signing a national letter of intent matter anymore? No more than you signing a contract with your employer. If you no longer want to work there, that's your prerogative to quit. If they choose to terminate you, that's your prerogative, or their prerogative to terminate you. It's also going back to the national letter of intent, which is a year-to-year contract. You don't have a 4-year scholarship. You have a year-to-year scholarship, and coaches will sometimes lord that over you. Now we're about to live in a world where the coaches have to be much more in sync with the feelings of their players and how those players are playing or being treated about their playing. Like, I can't wait to talk about this in a different light because there's some things that are happening right now in which this conversation is going to matter. But suffice it to say, you could play 2 years at West Virginia, find out that those 2 years aren't going well, and then go into the portal and come out at North Carolina and play the next year. I think this is tremendous. I also think that the same rules are going to apply when we're talking about these players. Every coach is going to want to know why you transferred, and your value is going to be tied to how good you are athletically and whether or not you are academically eligible to play the sport itself. What I find to be most interesting about this is how many football fans don't know that only the revenue generating sports have been made to sit out a year after transferring. That's baseball, that's men's basketball, and that is football. In the Olympic sports like softball, you've been able to transfer right away and be immediately eligible, and nobody seems to think that that's a big deal. I still don't think it's a big deal. I think the sport needs more player agency. It needs more representation from those players. I would not have a problem with college football having something like an NFL model with a players union, with salaries and structure. And we're getting closer to that with NIL. But as we had said 2.5 years ago with the introduction of the portal, it's only a matter of time before we are talking about these kids transferring to other schools and being able to play right away, which is another way of saying we wouldn't be talking about Chandler Morris in the way that we're talking about him now. We would just say, hey, he wasn't going to play at Oklahoma. He chose to transfer to Texas Christian. You got to live with that, Lincoln Riley, instead of being able to put your thumb on a button that says, no, he is not immediately eligible to play. This is tremendous news for the kids that I know thought that they were going to have an opportunity to play and then don't. It's also going to mean that more coaches are going to have those uncomfortable conversations with their players about why they're not playing enough, why they're not as highly valued as the guy that might be playing more than them, and what can be done to fix that. And more than that, what I find to be the most cool part about this is coaches are much more likely now to want to see you get to a place where you're going to play and be happy because they want to be able to recruit other guys that are like you, coming from your area, coming from your high schools. Because what many folks don't seem to understand is high school football coaches have a lot of stock in the players that they send to play for these college coaches. And if their guy is not treated fairly, they remember that and they lock that away. You got to remember that this power balance transfers. And even Nick Saban can be pulled back just a little bit. And if Nick Saban can be pulled back a little bit on what he wants and what he desires, every football coach can be pulled back a little bit on what he wants and what he desires. So tremendous change that is coming our way that goes into effect Thursday. This is huge, and I'm so excited about it. The other thing I'm excited about is Justin Fields getting his second pro day. Now, today, April 14th, shout out to Pat Surtain. It's his birthday. Happy birthday, young man. But also, this was a closed workout. No media was invited to this, and we had representatives from the 49ers, from the Falcons, from the Lions, from the Panthers, all show up to take in Justin Fields, Sean Way, at this pro day. We saw some photos, and we saw a little bit of video by the Ohio State folks, what Justin Fields was doing, how he looked. We saw Kyle Shanahan getting that nice little smile next to Justin, a guy that he had at QB Collective in 2017. And for me, the best player available to them on the board come out April 29th when the 49ers are on the clock at number 3. You've read a lot and heard me say a lot about how Justin Fields is being evaluated and how unfair I think this process has been for him in particular. But one of the other things that you need to know is everybody has something to say about this kiddo, which means that he must be some kind of good. And when you look at his stats and you look at how his coaches talk about him, how other players talk about him, how NFL players talk about him, it's hard not to see how Justin Fields is not the number 3 pick in this NFL draft, with Trevor Lawrence going to the Jacksonville Jaguars at number 1, Zach Wilson going to the New York Jets at number 2, and now I think Justin Fields to the 49ers at number 3. The Falcons also are at least going along with the smokescreen because many people think they're going to take the best available non-quarterback on the board. Many people think that's Kyle Pitts and keep it moving. Whereas I'm not so certain that Mac Jones is the guy for the Niners, just because I've always thought you want the athletic guy. You want the big guy. You want the fast guy. You want all those things put together. And as cool as Mac Jones is, he is not Justin Fields. Trey Lance is much closer to Justin Fields when we're talking about his ability to play and how good he can be on a football field, because in the NFL, it's about talent. You can be a great leader. You can be very accurate. But if you are faster, bigger, stronger than your peers, you're probably going to help somebody win more football games. And I don't think that Kyle Shanahan is in the business of losing football games. I don't think that that's the reason why you bring John Lynch with you to help you evaluate, or your quarterback's coach and Scandarella to help you evaluate Justin Fields. I think they know that this is the guy. I also think that they're playing the game, that this is a smokescreen, and I think they're going to do the right thing and go draft Justin Fields at number 3. All right, that's it for me. Big week. Doses.